soon-to-be convoy riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Arbitrary decrees for lockdowns, border closures, coercion, duress, invasive testing, banned air travel, except for the anointed ones, telling us who we can and cannot have over for Christmas dinner, blocking family from being with loved ones who are left to die alone, children separated from their playmates, children who've never had the opportunity to make a friend. More and more Canadians are saying they've had enough. Enough of the wild and reckless spending by a government that just doesn't care. The country's IOU has gone from the billions to $1 trillion, and neither the Auditor General nor the Parliamentary Budget Officer can figure out where it's all gone. The Liberals make purchases $1 under the $25,000 threshold, so they don't have to say what it's been spent on, like the $24,999 Health Canada gave to the We charity during the 2019 election. There wasn't enough money to have PPE stockpiled in case of a national emergency, or even our pandemic early warning system up and running, but they had $25,000 to throw over to the Prime Minister's friends during an election. See, that's how the Liberals funnel money from the federal treasury into campaign coffers, just like the sponsorship scandal. Remember what that was all about? Padding advertising contracts, with the advertising companies sending the padding back to the Liberal campaigns in brown paper bags. We never did find the missing $40 million. Now, back then, $40 million was a lot of money. This Build Back Better bunch is making money disappear to the tune of billions of dollars. So the truckers are on the way to Parliament Hill to take a stand. A stand, they say, against tyranny. The Prime Minister's arbitrary mandates, besides intentionally pitting Canadians against one another, are also fanning the flames of inflation. Not only is he choking off our food supply, but with this god-awful global warming, we're in a deep freeze. Furnaces need replacing. Additional ambulances are in high demand. And even more children are going to bed hungry. All these shortages drive up the cost of everything. And why is just inflation our Prime Minister's best friend right now? Just inflation gives the Trudeau and his jet-setting ministers the power to, quote, confiscate secretly and unobserved an important part of the wealth of their citizens, end quote. That was by John Maynard Keynes. There you have it. Just inflation is a tax, a stealth tax. The tax rate can stay the same, but since the amount being taxed is much higher, the take is much greater. Take what's happening with gas. We went from $1 a liter to $1.50 in a matter of months. That's a 50% increase in price. It's also a 50% increase in the taxes collected on that liter of gas. See how it works? Inflation is a tax. And Justin needs it because while we're all confined to the cold, he's flitting around from one vacation to the next. Trudeau's climate disciples are cutting back fuel supply enough to make those OPEC sheiks blush. The Liberals' fossil fuel embargo, dubbed the Renewable Fuels Regulations, also known as the Clean Fuel Standards, is going to render traditional vehicles useless. Gasoline at the pump is going to be further diluted with ethanol. This means you'll be gassing up more often because a tank won't take you as far. High-test fuel will be reserved for professional race car drivers at export. Lawn maintenance equipment, ATVs, snowmobiles, and personal watercraft will become unusable. This is just months away, if that. Justin Trudeau says 90% of the population has received its COVID shots. By knocking out 1 in 10 public servants, 1 in 10 federally regulated workers, 1 in 10 Canadian Armed Forces members, when all 3 sectors are already understaffed, means a labor shortage. Shortages mean fewer people working and paying taxes. Since the Liberals' spending is out of control, even more taxes are needed. That means the people who are working will have to pay more. During that time warp after the election, but before he opened Parliament 2 months later, Trudeau decreed that all federal employees must take the COVID shots. This includes our Canadian Armed Forces, the RCMP, CSIS, and other departments tasked with keeping our national security in place. Even before we were aware that COVID was making the rounds, our national security forces were already understaffed. There was no debate in Parliament about it, no vote, no witnesses to outline the benefits and the risks. The deadlines passed before Parliament even opened after the election. For Trudeau, the mandates are about obedience. He demands total fealty. Trudeau says he's not budging. No discussion. Do it or you're out on the street. Well, now, the most vulnerable in society are once again feeling the lash of Trudeau's hegemony. Children are being sent to school without breakfast, no food for lunch, and going to bed hungry. What food there is on the shelves is so pricey, it's unaffordable. Trudeau claims 10% of the population is not going to take the COVID injections, and he's ready to throw them to the dogs. When Europe may be on the verge of a major conflict, bad actors are hacking into our infrastructure controls like power production and our electricity grid, Trudeau is lopping off another 10% of skeleton crews in charge of our security. Name-calling, ostracism, isolation, fomenting hatred to the point where seriously compromised children are denied medical treatment. Referring to people as fringe groups just because they don't agree that stopping food supplies crossing the border is good public policy. Anyone who disagrees with his unilateral decisions to deny us freedom is unacceptable. That's not a leader. Together with the other socialist parties, the Liberals are looking at ways to tax boomers out of their homes to make room for their entitled supporters. We've talked about a few trial balloons they floated. First, there's imputed rent. This is a page out of former Finance Minister Alan McCacken's budget book. Absent the ability for original thought, the Trudeau regime is resorting to resuscitating old, failed ideas. Now, McCacken's idea was to calculate what it would cost homeowners if they were renting an equivalent space. That rental value would be added to the homeowner's tax return as income, adding to the overall income tax bill. It was an insidious idea back then, but totally acceptable to the spendophiles occupying the halls of power at this time. The second way is to tax homeowners on the difference between what they paid for their homes and what their homes were sold for. That's taxing capital gains on a home. The problem is the spendophiles want the money now. They don't want to wait for people to leave their homesteads. So they're considering a third way. it would be a tax on the equity of your home, an annual tax on the equity of your home. Now, equity is the share of your home that you own versus what you owe on your mortgage. In other words, it's a tax on your asset. Remember Trudeau's World Economic Forum friend's motto, you'll own nothing and be happy. Never to be outdone, our million-dollar silver-spooned Prime Minister has prognosticated that people should pay a luxury tax on the values of their homes assessed over $1 million. Great. So now people, after scraping together the money for a down payment, making mortgage payments, and paying municipal taxes based on their home's values, could now be smacked with another tax. Have you had enough? Let me know in the comments below. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant.